just at least get used to the room and that sort of thing. How have things at least been when it comes to just getting acclimated back to another spring?
It's awesome. I mean, it's easy to get acclimated with this weather being in, Tempe for the third spring ball. So it's always fun to be out here. Good weather, good vibes, good energy.
And how have you kind of seen, guys like Javen and Keith kind of embrace leadership roles so far early, especially with guys maybe like Rodney and others, just trying to at least, obviously it's another spring, but for them kind of entering yet another role of leadership?
Yeah, me and Coach Walker have been pushing to take the next step. We got a standard in our room, now from last year, and, the standard is the standard, but guys have to take next steps. We have to graduate from mistakes that we made last year. This is, a lot of our guys, third spring in this defense, second spring in this defense. Javen especially, familiar and fluent in our scheme from him playing in at Washington State. So just, really challenging those guys to take the next step and not make mistakes that they made when they were young in their careers. Guys have to kind of move into veteran roles from how they play as well as leadership off the field.
And specifically focusing on Rodney, obviously he's been someone who's been getting a lot more reps with the ones lately, especially early in spring. He's made a couple of impressive plays. What have you kind of just seen in his growth, at least early in this spring, and what do you hope he tries to at least gain in his skill set by the end?
Yeah, a lot of development has went into Rodney. For Rodney to go through what he went through last year and still be able to preserve his red shirt, it was incredible for him. He's a guy that we're not treating like a freshman, so he has to graduate as well as from some of the mistakes that he may have made this time last year. So we're not looking at Rodney as a freshman. We're trying to get him to step up and have a presence on this team with his play and with his checks, his alignments, and how we hold him accountable off the field.
Xavier Alford said he's coming into the spring with a chip on his shoulder, something to prove going into next year. What kind of excites you and gets you happy about kind of his approach and the way he's taking that?
Yeah, for him to go 1,000 days without playing football and be a first-team all-conference player, I mean, that's just a testament to who he is as a person, and how big of a critic he is of himself. He holds himself to a high standard. So for us to get to the 4th and 13 and prevail this season is the goal. That's his goal, So for him to, be a leader on this team and have faced as much adversity as he has, for him to keep, setting the bar higher just is a testament to who he is as a character, as a person as well.
And what were those specific things involving Rodney that you were hoping that he would improve on? You mentioned specific mistakes. What were those?
Yeah, just knowing your job, your responsibility, no matter what Coach Ward calls. We kind of try to create chaos on the field. So a lot of our calls, whether it's a double call or whether he's applying the right toolbox to the coverage that we put in. And he's done a tremendous job of that, especially through 4 or 5 practices in comparison to last year.
And Xavier's obviously one of the leaders within the unit. How would you sort of describe his leadership style and what he brings to the table today?
I mean, he's not a guy that just wants to talk it. He's a guy that wants to live it. He wants to set an example every time he's on the field for our players so that they can follow his leadership. A lot of guys like to talk, but in this new era of college football, if you don't walk the walk, players won't respect you. So our players respect him, which is kind of unique in comparison to the other schools that I've been at, because usually programs have more than one voice. So to see last season and all of our players kind of submit to his voice as the leader of our team is a testament of what we feel as coaches about Xavier, but even more importantly, what our players think about Xavier.
And obviously he's got the 100-yard landlord nickname and moniker, which obviously sounds cool, but he says it's deeper than just the game. It's also kind of who he prides himself as. How do you feel like he lives up to that?
I mean, he's been living up to that landlord name since 2016, 2017, when I first met Xavier as a high school recruit. So he's always been, a guy that wants to talk, and then he also wants to walk the walk.
And he said he wants to leave a legacy in his final season. What do you think Sun Devil fans can kind of expect from him going into this final season?
I mean, I feel like that's the goal of any young student athlete in this new age. A lot of people care about NIL, but the real goal is to go to a college and become immortal, like Cam Scatterbo or like Sam Levitt aspires to be. So, trying to finish off with a incredible last final lap, and hopefully it puts him into like immortality status as far as Sun Devil football is concerned.